Welcome, everybody. This is our bug user group meeting. And so it is May 4th. We have RJ Palis here from AECOM Hunt. RJ was with us about a year ago, and so we invited him back. We can't wait to hear all the changes that have happened in the last year. He's moved from Bernard's to AECOM Hunt, and so hopefully he'll share a little bit about just his experiences with his new job, what position he's in, and just what it's like to work for a very large company. AECOM is a global construction company. I don't know exactly where they fall on the ENR, in the lineup, but I want to say they're in the top 5, if not the top 10.
Right.
So yeah, so you can fill us in on those details. So I'm going to turn it over to RJ, and so you can take it from here, RJ. So
All
welcome.
right. Well, thank you, Christy. Thank you for inviting me back. Can everyone hear me okay? All right, perfect. So I was here last time. I was invited to talk about dashboards, and I'm sorry, I'm happy to say I'm probably gonna use dashboards today for the presentation. So not your usual PowerPoint, just because I'm not good at creating PowerPoint presentations, but I am good at creating dashboards. So hopefully that's sort of a twofer thing today, that we learn about dashboards and Bluebeam sessions. Like what Christy said, I'm a recent transfer to AECOM Hunt. I started back in March, so it's almost, I think almost 6 weeks now since I started with AECOM Hunt. I'm gonna start sharing my screen here for some visuals. You know, AECOM is it's a large company, and it's, it has under 50 companies sort of under its umbrella. Hunt is one of 2 construction groups that was acquired by AECOM. Tishman is the other one, which I think a lot of you are familiar with. Tishman Construction Group. Hunt Construction was acquired in 2014. It had at that time about 700 employees. Based in Indianapolis. It was founded in 1944. I don't have that graphics here, but we can check. What I have here on the right hand screen is what AECOM sort of known for. You know, it is #1 in environmental and buildings design firm. Big money right here. 47,000 employees worldwide. I mean, it's just a gigantic company, and how we stand out in the construction group is that we are one of 2 construction groups. Hunt is known for building convention centers, large arenas throughout the country. And I'm gonna click on a link here, take you out to the site. And some projects that you can see here is Amway Center, AT&T Center, Barclay Center, which I visited. Very nice facility. And then a couple, and just a little bit of these larger projects. So I am currently working in Inglewood. You guys know about SoFi Stadium, right? And how that was a Turner AECOM joint venture. Now I'm working on the other stadium. It's called the Intuit Dome. It is home. It's going to be the future home of the Los Angeles Clippers. This time AECOM is the primary, and Turner is the, I guess, secondary. It's a secondary construction group on this project. I'm sharing the only thing I can show for this project because of confidentiality here, but it is the NBA.com. It's the Clippers website. This is how the building would look like. It has similar features as when we heard Michael Danishvar a few weeks ago talking about SoFi, with the ETFEs, if you guys remember that. That's sort of similar what you see here as the enclosure. A lot of steel on this
RJ,
project. Yep.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I don't think I'm seeing that here.
Okay. Thank you. I have it. There you go.
Oh, there we go.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I forgot I was sharing under the program there. So yeah, again, like I said, similar to what we talked about when Michael from Turner was on this call, you know, with the ETFEs that surrounded SoFi Stadium. It's similar type of enclosure that you see here. The idea of it is that it's supposed to fashion like a basketball going into a net. So you kind of see on the top here, the ridges or solar panels that are supposed to look like the basketball ridges going into a basketball hoop. You can see there. So that's sort of um, the goal of why it looks this way. Intuit Dome, you know, it's tax season. I don't know if you all did your taxes this year, but you know, TurboTax is under the Intuit company, so you can actually see it here. TurboTax, QuickBooks, all that stuff. Mailchimp, Credit Karma. So that's what the Intuit is known for.
And RJ, that looks like it's plopped right down in the middle of, is it Inglewood?
It is in Inglewood.
Oh.
From where we're looking at, SoFi is, I believe SoFi is to the southwest of this view, about a couple blocks down. So,
and it looks like this project, I mean, you might not be able to talk about it much, but it looks like this project is in a very, very busy area.
it is on the corner of Century and Prairie. It is very busy. What you don't see here are two garage structures. There's one back there. You can see it. It's a unlike SoFi where they had like an open parking space. There's enclosed parking garage. It's just this is the south parking garage, and then there's another parking garage here that you kind of see off the screen. It's a $3 billion project, not as big as SoFi, but in terms of what it means to the community of Inglewood, it does provide a lot of opportunity for local hires, local companies, diversified companies that are going to have the opportunity to work on this project. So it does bring a lot of value. It's just as transformative project like how SoFi was or is for the city of Inglewood.
Matt, did you have a question?
Yeah, so I remember from Michael's presentation, he was talking about how a lot of the steel for SoFi was manufactured in China. Is it going to be the same for this project?
It is. I don't know how much of it is going to be manufactured in China, but there are some other construction parts. I say parts, but materials that are going to be shipped from overseas, not just China. But yes.
Okay, and just kind of a follow-up question. I had this one after speaking to Michael or listening to Michael. I'm glad I get to ask you. Like when companies do that, do they follow imperial or metric in terms of sizing?
That's a good question. Everything on my Navisworks model is under feet and inches, but that's a good question. I can follow up on with our structural team on site. The cool thing about this project is that I am on site, so I am in the middle of all the construction folks and the engineers and the project engineers, the PM. So I can get you that answer right away. That's
cool. Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? All right. I kind of jumped ahead there. I'm gonna screen my. But I do this. So I'm switching back to Bluebeam. Do you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right. So just a little bit of myself. I already covered it. I am I see PE here. I am a professional engineer. I studied electrical engineering, graduated, and came around to. I did about 10 years of building electrical design before jumping onto construction. Along the way, I got my professional engineering license just as a personal goal, because I felt like that was something that somebody with an engineering degree should have, at least in my opinion. I my real name is Romel. A lot of folks know me as Romel, but also a lot of people call me RJ, like you guys. You know me as RJ. Been living in San Fernando Valley for almost all my life. Pastime, I like listening to podcasts, audiobooks, Star Wars audiobooks. You know, may the fourth be with you. Happy Star Wars Day today. I enjoy the outdoors, but I especially now I enjoy being a dad to my two boys. So they keep me busy and on my toes. Current position, I am a BIM VDC manager here on AECOM Hunt. I'll talk a little bit about what BIM is and what my role is for this particular project. Finest achievement in the last 5 years, I have stacked 8 Cheez-Its on my son's forehead. So I'll click on the photo of that. I thought that was the greatest thing ever. But then I ended up topping it with 7 Cheerios on my son's forehead.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so cute.
So I thought that was the greatest thing ever as far as my accomplishment. So you know, you guys are in construction management. I don't know how much exposure you guys have in terms of what BIM is or VDC. I guess just by little, you know, hand raise on your Zoom there, if you guys can just you know, raise your hand or nod your heads, because I'm looking at you all, if you guys have encountered BIM during your studies. Cool. All right, so you know, I'll just start. You know, BIM is not necessarily a tool. It's not necessarily a software. It's not, you know, not just process. It's a combination of a lot of things. You know, BIM or VDC is a tool, and just like any other tool, there's all kinds of different kinds of tools, right? I think the main concept of BIM and VDC, or the main goal, is so that it will help us deliver, design, and construct projects that are efficient, that are good design, and that are it'll save us money and time, and that's what BIM offers as an industry. And you can think of, you know, Bluebeam as part of this BIM world, because Bluebeam digitizes information and sort of puts it all into one place. Especially if when we start talking about Bluebeam Session, when you put a set of drawings live on the cloud for everybody to be able to access, right, and do markups all live, all at the same time in real time. That provides a single source of truth. And in BIM, we always want to have the latest and greatest, or one source of truth where everybody can pull information from or provide information to others. And, you know, to me, BIM, there are different kinds of BIM managers. Depends on if you're on the design side or construction side. For my particular role in this project, what I get is a set of, you know, for example, just a set of design models that are from the design engineers, you know, in this case, whether that be structural or mechanical. And what we do as a BIM manager for this project, we compile it together into one composite model. And that composite model is used for us to do quality assurance, quality control, make sure that the design is constructible, right? And that's what BIM or Revit or Navisworks affords us, is that we're able to simulate what's going to be built before it's built. And because of that, we're able to identify issues, challenges, roadblocks before we even hit the ground, right? That's one aspect of BIM. As you go out into the world, you know, once you graduate or you start taking accepting employment, you're going to see a lot of technology nowadays, especially now with AR, with augmented reality, with virtual reality, 360-degree photos. All those tools are part of what virtual design and construction is, and in that it helps you become a better builder or it helps you become a better designer. Any questions?
RJ, I have a question, and I may be like totally not, how do I want to say, like a digital native? It's a non-digital native question. What's augmented reality?
So I think the best thing I can describe it is I don't know if you know about Pokemon Go, where you have a real life setting and you have, you know, avatars that are on screen, but it's overlaid into our reality. So in this case, if I have something like a HoloLens where I can put on this hard hat and this visor, what I'll do is I'll overlay something like this mechanical system into an existing space that's out there on our real world, and it'll show us spatially how it would look like if there was a building at that location. That's what as a separate from what virtual reality is you put on something and it takes you to a virtual world where it's detached from the real world, right? You just see a virtual room, and what augmented reality does, it overlays that virtual into the real world.
Very interesting.
Yep.
Thank you. And Julio had a question too.
Sure.
I typed the question on his chat.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. All right.
Julio, did you type it in there? I don't see it.
It was a direct message to him.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I can,
Okay.
yeah, so in terms of Intuit, yeah, it's just a parent company. That is Steve Ballmer is the actual owner of the Clippers, and he has a lot of invested on this project as well.
But so my question was, does that affect the project at all?
No.
No? Okay.
Yeah. All right. Any questions about BIM, BDC, or augmented reality or not?
What's the
Yeah.
difference between BIM and BDC?
Oh, I guess virtual design and construction is more of the verb of what
Okay.
BIM, building information model. It's sort of the action word for what BIM does, and you know what BIM is designing and constructing in sort of a virtual environment.
And so which programs do you use, BIM and Navisworks, you said?
Yeah, so you know, typically now AutoCAD is still, Autodesk is sort of the company that rules a lot of the design, like something like this, where Revit is primarily nowadays, at least for the projects I've worked on, it's primarily the tool that designers use to design buildings, right? Whether that be the mechanical system like you see here, or the architectural or structural that you see here. These are the tools that are being used to create construction documents. Before this, I think what I've experienced at my time in design construction is you start with a 2D plan, right, with drawings and hand drawn, and what happened before is people would model how it would look like in a 3D environment. Now with softwares like Revit, you're able to create the 3D first and slice it, so that way it comes out as, you know, the sheets that you see in construction documents. I don't think they have any examples of that here. Actually, they might do. Let's see. Yeah, so you can create the 2D flat images based on the 3D that you create, and not the other way around. Navisworks is primarily a model viewer, also created by Autodesk. But what that does is it accepts all kinds of different files from Revit, AutoCAD, SolidWorks, all these authoring or design software, and it compiles it in a composite model, so that way you can view how it looks like. I don't have an example here, but essentially what it would look like is on a construction project, you'll have the design models from the architects, but then you also have the subcontractor models with much more details into their system.
And RJ, I'm just curious because we don't actually, we do some stuff on Revit or SketchUp, or we don't have BIM because it's really expensive, and we don't use Navisworks. Do you see construction students coming out, into the industry that have that kind of experience? Or are they really learning it on the job?
They're really learning it on the job. There are companies out there, from where I work, where in Bernard's, there's training, a lot of companies that you always want to look for and see how they train people in using these technology. I know Bernard's is really good at training folks on the BIM side of things, how to use Navisworks. I know other companies there as well that have good training programs. But for me, I didn't learn about Navisworks until 2012. I was primarily an AutoCAD and Revit user. When I started with Walt Disney Imagineering back in 2012, that's where I got exposed to Bluebeam. That's where I got exposed to Navisworks. So it really is sort of like an on the job training.
And it's interesting, and maybe at the end we can talk about this more, but we were just talking in our faculty meeting that one of the things that's going to be up and coming, that our industry is really increasing the technology in our industry. And a lot of our construction management programs, especially in California, they really teach kind of like a GC route. And like yourself, and I'm, pretty proficient on the scheduling side with Oracle P6 and Microsoft Project and all those, that we're going to see more and more of a need because of all this technology that's coming out, for students to almost, become experts in technology like yourself,
Correct.
And I think more and more, some of you guys that are in construction management, we can talk about this more, but I'm in project controls, which is kind of a specialization. RJ seems like he's, an expert in his field as well. And these are very non-traditional paths that come out of construction management. And I think you're going to see that more and more, where you can choose. There's so many things you can choose, and this technology is going to just be exploding here, I think, in coming years. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, RJ, but maybe you can add.
Yeah,
to that.
Definitely from what I've seen out in the market, there are terms like construction technologists a lot of companies are looking for. And that's mainly, another term for anybody using technology out on the field. So that could either be a project manager or a project engineer, but these are folks that are really in tune with the technology being used to enhance construction management. So it doesn't, like I said, it might not necessarily, it might seem like I'm specialized, but our goal as construction technologists is to share that knowledge that we have. So that way our project managers, our project controls have the ability to use sort of this centralized system where they can benefit from BIM. Like P6 can be integrated to the model to create, a 4D. That's sort of the tools that we can train people on how to do, so that way it would perhaps make them better, or at least see how how their role can be elevated because of BIM. And I think that's also sort of our goal as construction technologists, to be able to inform people of these avenues to help them support as a project engineer or a project project manager. But if you want to go into BIM, a deep dive in BIM, I mean, anybody that can do it. That's what I think.
Well, thanks, RJ. And one of our students asked, can students get student versions of Autodesk or Navisworks? And Darren, you can, but you have to go into a Porto. I think Navisworks is in a Porto. We just don't use it in CM, but you could probably log into a Porto and find it there. And one thing to tag on to what RJ said, and we can talk about it more at the end, is that I don't know what your experiences are, RJ, but when you know programs like this, it's most people are not going to know these kinds of programs like RJ does. And so, I mean, he can make a career out of this, just, being a manager. I mean, you're a manager doing these things. So they hired you at AECOM probably to do this. So sometimes learning these big softwares is a great ticket, it's a skill set that many people probably are not going to learn. And so it's something to consider.
Yeah, so wherever you guys end up interning or applying for a job, I think, for you to be able to be exposed to BIM, go out there and ask who your BIM manager is or your BIM engineer, and or even if there's a rotation during your internship program, if you want to be part of BIM for a few weeks. I know while I was at Bernard's, we did that with the project engineers, and we rotated them. And once they got to BIM, they we there was training involved. Basically, just creating that exposure so that they know what BIM is capable of, and they can take that out to wherever they end up deciding to go, either on the field or as an operation support in the office. All right. So I did want to cover a little bit about Bluebeam session, but there's been great questions. So yeah, keep that coming. I'm gonna jump onto my first exposure to Bluebeam was actually in 2012. That was 10 years ago, and Bluebeam session was something that was, for me, that was super new, right? So I got hired at Walt Disney Imagineering to work at the Shanghai Disneyland. I'll put this up on the screen. Hopefully the audio works. I don't know if you all are familiar with the Disneyland in China, but I'll put this up on the screen here. I don't know if the audio is gonna come through.
I don't think so.
Can you guys hear the audio?
No.
No, but we can
Okay.
certainly
Yeah,
watch.
so I'll just walk you through it. This is the Tomorrowland. They have the Tron light cycles. Nowhere else in our, this is the land that I worked on. That's Treasure Cove. They have all the cool stuff there because this particular land has the Pirates of the Caribbean ride that are not like what we have here in California, where it's sort of the old take on the Pirates of Caribbean. This particular land is based on the movies. There's one particular ride where it takes you to the scene where you see two battleships shooting at each other, and you have your boat sort of floating in the middle. Sort of more of a 10 times the sensory experience, like unlike what we have here in California. So that's sort of the introduction. I'm sorry I can't show you too much, but as far as YouTube, you guys can. There's a lot of stuff on YouTube. You can watch the ride attractions themselves, go inside and see how it looks. But it's a huge project, $5 billion. So it took about 5 years to construct. It finished in June 16, 2016. But the cool thing about that project is every design review, while it was still in design, all went through the Bluebeam session process. When you think of a design review, you think of a page turn, right? Everybody in a one big room, they go through, they flip pages, reviewing them, red marking them, hey, there's something missing. This project in Shanghai, every design review was done in Bluebeam session. So you can actually see the collaboration within that room itself, but also when we're not physically all in that room, there's people constantly putting stuff in. I'll have a demo here. I don't know, Christy, if everyone has a Bluebeam license, being that it is a Bluebeam user group.
Yes, most people they give us free licenses through
Okay.
through Sophie.
Okay, all right, great. So maybe we can do a live demo of that. I don't know what if y'all have been exposed to, it, but for those that aren't, maybe this is a good time to do that. Now again, Shanghai Disneyland, there was a large effort in design. It took about 4 years in design, so a lot of reviews going back and forth. But that was my first exposure into Bluebeam, and the day that I attended a meeting, I was expecting a larger room with a bunch of, 36 by 48 drawings just all over the place, ready to be marked up. But in fact, it wasn't the case. It was a Bluebeam session on those design reviews. So I thought that blew my mind. I was like, wow, what is this program? I got to get my hand. I got to learn what this is. But actually, I didn't even create my first Bluebeam session until I left the company, which is oddly enough, that was 4 years after I was introduced to it. I was just a participant on those Bluebeam review.
So RJ, can I ask you a quick question?
Yep.
I got just a logistical question. So if you did the Bluebeam sessions and you're over in Shanghai, did most of the people speak English or no?
So there was, before I got shipped out to Shanghai, we did the design in Glendale, California first. So there was a lot of collaboration within Disney itself in-house. And then when it was ready for the construction documents, it got shipped over to the Chinese side. And as far as language barrier, yes, it existed. It was a big barrier, but there were translators during that process that helped the Disney, stateside Disney employees to communicate with the contractors there. But it is something of a culture shock for those that are not used to, like myself, who are not used to working overseas.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know which Bluebeam session or speaker I told this to, but I did do some work for Universal Studios in Japan on the Harry Potter ride.
Wow. Okay.
And we had the same problem with the interpreters. All the meetings, we didn't have Bluebeam sessions. We had to do it in person. They came
wow.
over here and we met up in Canada and they couldn't speak English. And so all the meetings were twice as long.
Yeah. I mean, construction means and methods is different. The jargon is different. When you explain what a electrical home run is, there's no word what that means. And even in English, it's like, oh, you mean, are you talking about baseball? So that's something that we had to kind of get over that hump and explain it sort of in what they would understand. So definitely a challenge. V-Station project. This is one of the key projects with Bernard's. It was at that time when we started, it was valued around $300 million construction budget. Took about 4 years to finish. I think they just opened it up last year to the public. But I was part of the early phases of that when we were trying to get up on the ground. I'll show you a little bit of what this is. This is again at Culver City. It's one of those transformational projects for the company and for the city of Culver City. There's what you see here are 3 buildings that are on top of a 3-level underground parking garage. You'll see the 200,000, actually, did they say 500,000 square foot office building here on the right. You have the 200 unit mixed use apartments that you see here, sort of this N-shaped building, and then 148 room boutique hotel. Although in my opinion, I don't know who, in terms of Culver City, maybe now because it's different. There's people that would go on vacation at Culver City. It is a pretty happening spot in West LA. What you see here in the back is a transit station. So it is sort of centralized in the city of Culver, where people can access these facilities, these living situations via the metro line. Very a big deal for the city of Inglewood, Culver City. It's funny, there's a delineation here between city of LA and Culver City. Somewhere down here, I forget where that line is, but they had to work under two jurisdictions for this project. It's a little fun fact. I don't know if I'll put in more pictures here. Very nice looking project. It is super cool. I got the opportunity to do the BIM coordination on this project on all 3 buildings. The hotel building and the residential building are wood frame construction. And the office building you see here, that's cast in place concrete. Nice interiors inside. It's pretty much a gem of Culver City at this point. So on this project, the efforts that I had in terms of Bluebeam session, my first Bluebeam session that I ended up setting up was we were already in construction. We were building out the residential building here, which is all wood framed construction. It was especially challenging as we're trying to construct everything up, putting up the walls all at the same time, where we're still struggling with the design of the MEP systems for each unit. There was limited ceiling space, just limited ceiling space. It was a very tough design, and we were trying to stay ahead of that before things were being erected. So one solution that we did was we created Bluebeam sessions where we invited the design team to go on these sessions with us, and we created the PDF where everybody can mark up. The markup is coming from the subcontractors, informing us what can be built or what cannot be built. And so they would mark it up on the Bluebeam session. We would then invite the design team to come to these meetings, and we would talk about the issues and how to resolve them. So I thought that was a very valuable experience for myself who set it up, but it was also, it created this environment where we can talk to each other while we're creating the markups. So I thought that was very, very cool to experience. What I wanted to do now though is, you all are probably experts, but maybe something that we can do together as a team here. I don't know if you know how to create Bluebeam sessions yet, but if not, I will create one here live. Hopefully that doesn't give me any issues. Any questions so far though before I start that?
I don't know if you mentioned this, but how do you end up in Shanghai? Because your company is based on in Los Angeles, right?
Yes. Yeah. So at that time, I was working for Walt Disney Imagineering. As you know, they're the design and construction arm of Walt Disney, and they have projects in Paris, in Tokyo. Where else do they have it? Florida, here in the States. So I was assigned to the Shanghai project. So I knew full on that I was going to work on that project, but didn't really realize that I was going to get sent to China. But it was something that was a great opportunity, obviously, working for a project like that and experiencing a different culture while working there. So did that for about 2 years.
Hey, RJ, if, I mean, I know working for Universal Studios, it kind of just happens, but do you have any recommendations for students that may, have a creative bug that would like to work for like Disney or Disney?
So I think, Disney, I'm not sure about Universal, but Disney has a internship program or a college program. I'm not too sure about the dates when they start those programs. But they do on occasion, I think throughout the year, they look for internships, whether it be in the artistic side or whether that be in the engineering or design side. So definitely something that you can have the students look into. The question I get asked when I was working there is, how do I get into Disney? There wasn't a specific answer for me. I did not have any connections at Disney. All I did was I went to the Disney career website. I saw a job there. I applied for it. And I'm not a big Disney fan, to be honest. It was a surprise that I got a call back. But I think having in your resume a solid experience in terms of if you want to get into the design or construction side, a full control or a full maybe not full understanding of the software, but knowing the basics of what softwares do in terms of design, and really just focusing or harnessing your specific skills. Like, let's say if you are on project controls and you want to be in estimating, there are opportunities within Disney that provide that opportunity to be employed in the construction side of things.
And RJ, I don't know what your opinion is on this, but those kinds, that's like a specialization, I would say, in engineering construction. You could probably make a career out of working just on those types of ride or resort type work or entertainment type, hotels, things like that. But I don't know what your experience is, but people that typically work for Disney and they like it, or Universal Studios or any of that kind of work, kind of stay in that work.
They do.
Mhm.
Actually, a lot of tribal knowledge is built in Disney because these folks have been working there 20, 30, 40 years. It is specialized. That's why I think in my head, I did want to venture on other types of construction. But again, the construction that they have, they do big things in Disney. They have the technology. They use the latest technology. So it was a good opportunity, and I think that's why a lot of people want to work for Disney, because they are innovative. They are using the latest technology, and they employ the smartest people to be part of their engineering and manage construction management program.
And I found too that typically, like, for example, if you work at Orlando and then the next ride is at, big ride that you might want to work on is in LA, you'd kind of go from place to place and build those things.
Yeah.
And
that's how Disney is. That's their business model is if they can't create a land, they'll create a ride in that land. So it's almost like a project based.
Darren just said, I just dropped my daughter off at the Disney College program in Florida yesterday. It runs all year round. Most students go for 3 months. Currently, the program in Anaheim is still closed from the pandemic. So interesting, very interesting, Darren. And so Darren, is she in engineering construction or art?
She's actually an environmental major, wants to work at Animal Kingdom someday.
Oh, interesting. Very interesting. I bet she's going to have a great time.
Yep.
Yeah, so like I said, thank you, Darren. There are programs out there available if you want to like to inquire or get into Disney. I think those are the best ways to get your foot in the door. I completely lucked out, to be honest.
And RJ, the same thing happened to me too. And I'm not even sure how I got involved in the Harry Potter ride. It just like happened,
Yeah.
And, they wanted to send me over to Osaka. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. Part of the thing is I had just gotten married and I was like, oh man, I'd be gone. That wouldn't be such a great thing. So we did do some things online, but it was
Okay.
back when things were on Skype. We didn't have Zoom and all those things. So now you can work on these kinds of projects and do so much from even remote.
I think, now Zoom, when we're talking about BIM, Zoom and Microsoft Teams, that's also part of what, I think what can make our construction better too, is that you don't necessarily have to be remote. You can do things, I'm sorry, you don't have to be on site, but you can do remote. So there might be some, there's benefits definitely with this new technology that we have. let's create a Bluebeam session. How about that? I don't know if you guys know, and you know, you can ask me questions if I'm going too fast, but I'm gonna try to create one. New session, I'll say 2022. 504 bug sample. And I'll add the, I have a sample drawing here that we can work on for those that are not this one. Oops. All right, forgive me. Let me just start this. Add. Stop. There we go. And I'm gonna take off this box, and what I'll do is I'll copy the Bluebeam session link and drop it into our chat box there. I did that correctly. There you go. All right, it just took a little bit longer. All right, I'll copy this invitation. I'll drop it into the chat here. I'll go Control V. How about we try?
I think what he's doing is he's allowing you guys to get into his session. So any of you, I know Matt, we do this sometimes. So I know Matt can get in. So any of you that have Bluebeam,
Yeah,
you
so
can log in.
yeah, you can log in straight using this link on the chat box that I dropped there. I'll give it a few minutes and see who I see. Matt's there. He's a pro. If you guys want to do that, cool. We'll do sort of a live session here. So typically in these Bluebeam sessions, there is some sort of code of conduct or some procedures on how to mark things up or what colors to use. I know for the design side, you know, we have asked certain trades or discipline to, you know, if you're a mechanical engineer or mechanical contractor working on this, you know, create your markups in blue, right? Or create your markups in red if you're fire protection. In this drawing here that we have up, I have up here, you can see that somebody already started marking things up. So if you guys are not here yet, maybe you'll see Matt create some markups, and you'll see that live happening during this session. And what's the cool thing about this is that you can communicate right away what you need to be done. So like in this case, you know, I'll say, and I think some of you are faster on the tools than I am here. So I'm going to create a cloud, you know, here. And then I'll say fix this clash, right? And then I think now you could kind of see that live, what's happening. And if you're Matt on the other side of the screen there, if you're not looking at my screen, you can see that I added a clash, right, Matt? Or I'm sorry, I added a cloud. I see Manny joining in here. I'm gonna change. You can also alert the attendee if it's specific to that person. So, you know, I'll choose Manny here and say, hey, you know what, go fix this issue, or can you fix this issue? That's the beauty of a Bluebeam session. It lets you live mark things up live on the drawing. And this way you can, what we've seen in the past is that people will send emails of things they want to see change on a drawing. They will highlight it, they'll mark it up, they'll draw their arrows and lines and send it on an email, right? So now you have a trail of email. You're trying to find out, hey, what's the latest information, or how am I going to track all these changes, right? What Bluebeam session offers is a single source of truth, where you have one source document where everybody is adding their input, and that way it saves us time. It saves us. We're not wasting paper if you're doing it on paper. But this provides that collaborative environment where everybody can have their say in one area. So I see a big red rectangle there that someone added. That's great. And then now it's gone. You see how it's super fast when you do things, it tracks it that way. I don't know if there's any other tips that you guys know about. I'm certainly still learning a lot of things on Bluebeam myself. But like the other day, someone told me that you can change the color of the sheet numbers on your window, so you can tag things separately by trade, right? Like let's say you have mechanical sheets, you can change the color of those sheet numbers to blue, which I didn't know about. Yep, yeah, you see the cloud. So that's what my presentation is about. You know, it is fairly short in terms of the demonstration, but I think, you know, you guys can see the value of bringing this into your project, wherever that might be, and incorporating this during, you know, reviews of drawings that you want to create. In AECOM Hunt, what I've seen in my limited experience there, Bluebeam session is actually used a lot during before concrete pours. We would a project engineer would set up a project Bluebeam session, and she would gather all the drawings from the trade that shows the concrete deck penetrations. She would overlay it, and then she would put it on a Bluebeam session so the design team can go in there and review it. So rather than a formal submittal going to the design team through through like a project management software like an Autodesk or a Procore, it goes straight to a Bluebeam where the design team can already put their input, their comments in there, and our team gets the feedback right away. So rather than getting something back, you know, 10 to 15 days per contract, we're getting the live feedback from the design team during these sessions. Any questions? Cool. You can also follow somebody here, which I think follow attendee. And what happens if there's multiple page right there? See, I can see, you see on my screen where this person's mouse is hovering. There you go. That's pretty cool.
Hey, RJ.
Yep.
I have a question, and maybe this is for our ABC team, which is our building team. We've been working on a hotel project, and we've created a studio session, and we're having problems because we can't do like overlaying or anything in there. When you do a session,
You
is
have
it
to
just-
overlay it first and then add it to the program.
So like, for example, say you're going to do the concrete takeoff, you'd create the overlay first, do that.
Oh, you know, yeah, I think I misspoke. When we do the overlay, we actually do the overlay not through Bluebeam, but through AutoCAD. So we would have the CAD drawings or Revit drawings, and we would overlay the MEP systems over the concrete, and then create a PDF of that, and then import it here on Bluebeam session.
Oh, so you do it like outside
Side.
of Bluebeam, and then you import it in.
Correct. Yeah.
I see. Otherwise, it's just one big free for all then.
So what you're doing is you would, so I'm not sure if that's the procedure, but you get your overlay, you do your overlay through the tools here. Sorry.
Do you remember we're having problems with this, Matt?
I forget how to do an overlay. Was it in?
Yeah, I remember. And I'm putting these dots around here trying to mess around with the layers, and I don't think they're working in this one either.
The overlay, the icon is there over there on the left, and it looks like two paper sheets on top of there,
Oh,
the layers.
yeah. So I think I was debating if I should create a session just to do this layer, but I had too many things going on. I had the dashboard, I had the Bluebeam session. I was actually thinking about creating this. What I've done in the past is I've actually created something separate from Bluebeam where I used AutoCAD to overlay things. I would import it. It is a little bit difficult because I think when you're doing that kind of overlay, you have to match things, right? Where certain, you have to pick 3 points to overlay, 3 points, and then line it up. I'm not sure. It's so what you're saying is it's not letting you do that through Bluebeam session.
Yeah, so it's like a free for all. So if somebody is doing like, for example, they're counting windows and doors, and we've got somebody doing the, concrete takeoffs, we can't put them in separate layers.
Okay.
It's just all in the program. Does that make sense? It's
Yeah.
like you can't layer it and take them off, if you want to.
Yeah. So what I've done in the past, I have when I was with Bernard's, I created a YouTube video on how to create those layers and put it here on Bluebeam. So you could actually see the video where I start clicking things off, and the mechanical systems would disappear or reappear, right? But I had to do that separately using AutoCAD. But I guess in your case, I don't know if you're overlaying 2 PDF files, right?
Yeah, we're doing the work in the online session.
Okay.
So
on the online
like-
session. I've never tried that before. Yeah.
yeah, it's like it doesn't, I'm gonna have to call probably Sophie and ask her, but it's almost like a free for all. So, you can't layer it and take them off so that you can kind of organize it. It's just, once you put something in, it's there. And so if you've got,
I mean, your markups, like your markups.
yeah,
Can you-
and it's just like, all your markups end up being on one sheet,
Can you have it so that I know that in the session you can, let me close this. You can filter your markups, right? By color. I don't have that window open.
I think you can do it down in the drawer too. Filter them by color.
Let me do a review here. Maybe that'll just, there you go. Is it down here somewhere where I can access the history or like the markup tools down, not the markup tools, but the
drawer.
is it the drawer?
Yeah, the drawer, it usually is down. Do you see, and I don't see it on your screen, but down on the left-hand
Oh,
corner.
there you go.
There you go. Is like that little blue, it looks like a hamburger. Down in the very left-hand corner, it'll pull up the markups.
Oh yeah.
And
So
you can filter on the colors.
Yeah, so I don't know if you can do that with I don't know if you can turn things off here based on that.
Oh, yeah, maybe even through the filter, where it says markups and it's got the funnel next to it. I wonder if we can filter through there. You see where it says markups list? On the left-hand side at the top there,
Oh,
right
yes.
there, and then right next to it, there's a funnel.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so in this case, if you want to just do it by color.
Yeah,
yeah.
we might have to do it that way, Matt. And filter it out by those, by each of those things if we need to.
So yeah, sorry, Chris, I couldn't help.
No, I
Yeah.
think actually that helped us in a small way with the filtering, because we could filter by certain things, even though everything's in the, because we're trying to do it as a team, to learn how to do it. And I think if we just filter by certain areas and look at certain areas, that will actually help.
right. Let me see
So
any other questions here on the chat.
how do you
Ah.
integrate BIM and Bluebeam? How do the two work together?
Think they're two different tools. BIM in general, you know, you can say that Bluebeam is part of the building information model. It doesn't necessarily have the metadata. You'll probably hear that a lot when you hear people talk about BIM. You know, building information model, right? The I in BIM is information. So what happens is if you have something like a Revit model here, and you click on an element, the I in BIM is the information that is tagged to that particular element, right? Like in this case, this one's a basic wall. It's not just geometry. There is data included in that geometry. So in this case, it tells you the length, the area. That's what sort of beneficial with BIM is that it contains these values that you can use. In terms of Bluebeam, I think as part of the virtual design and construction, it is a tool that enhances our performance in the review in reviewing drawings, right? So it does sort of it's related to BIM, but it's not exactly the same process. There's two complete separate tools. There you go. That's what I wanted to say.
Maybe you could talk a little bit about if you go back to where you had the dashboard, you set up a little dashboard with those two pictures, yeah, and how you hyperlinked the things so that you could.
Sure. You know, you can create hyperlinks, and I know that was my first invitation.
Oh, RJ, you're off. You're like not on audio. Can you guys hear him?
Put his microphone in.
His volume dropped off. I can barely hear him.
Oh, how about now? My little thing was up. How about now?
Now we can hear you.
All right. Okay, cool. Or were you referring to this sheet or this?
Yeah, you know, basically, well, like say, you know, you're working for Disney or you're working for AECOM, you know, on a project, you can actually set up a dashboard, and this piece of paper is kind of set up that way that he can kind of link out into something else.
Yeah, so what I had on my first presentation with you guys was I had this 8.5 by 11 sheet, and I had created hyperlinks to project folders to our cloud server. And so what that does is, you know, I'll use this example here, this AECOM hunt. You'll see that if I hover over it, the little hand appears. That means it's hyperlinked to a website. In this case, it's a website. It'll take me to that website, right? These two here, you can also hyperlink it to a file location in your computer. Like in this case, the photos of my kids are stored locally into a desktop, so it's pointing. It's super easy to do. I'll show you real quick how to do that on the hyperlink icon here, which is that chain link, green chain link. What that does is it'll highlight what are already hyperlinks. But from here, you can see that crosshair in there. And what I'll do is I'll create a box, and a prompt window will show up, and it'll tell you a hyperlink, or if you want to open it locally from your folder. What I'll do is I'll hyperlink this to Google, and then you can just hit escape. What that does is now it's quickly hyperlinked to Google. And the benefit of this is that you can create sort of this dashboard where you can, instead of scrolling and looking for your folders and looking for your project, which, you know, will take you 10 clicks before you get there, this dashboard will help you create a super fast link to wherever you need to go. So if you have a project that you need to access multiple folders, multiple files throughout the day, if you create a quick dashboard, that'll help you save clicks to get to where you want.
And I don't know if you remember couple years ago, I don't know if you went to the XCon conference, RJ, but a lot
I've
of
never
the-
been. I've never
You
been.
haven't?
I am
Oh,
not. Yeah.
you'll have to go. But there's a couple of I want to say a couple years ago when a group of us in the bug group went to Washington, DC before COVID hit. Boy, was that fun. But a lot of the companies, the bigger companies, would create dashboards for their projects. So for example, you're working on the Intuit project and they would set up their whole dashboard hyperlinked out to their RFIs and their submittals and all that. And so basically they'd have a fancy dashboard and everything had buttons on it, that they actually hyperlinked out so that you wouldn't even have to go out into Procore. You wouldn't have to, as long as you were linked to it, it'd be easy to do. And so that's something that I think, as project engineers, if you can get to learn Bluebeam and you've got a creative bug, that could be very helpful for your projects. They think you're really cool to be able to set all that up.
Yeah, I think I used a combination of Microsoft Word art to create my buttons on my dashboard. I know when I worked with on the Ivy Station project, they had a dashboard too. They created one for that project. So and it had the hyperlinks to the RFI folders, to the submittal folders, construction drawings. Yep.
Do you have one set up for the Intuit?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I'm sure maybe there is one over there, but when I started this project, I hit the ground running. So
yeah, you're probably doing other things besides designing dashboards for sure.
Yeah, putting out fires. That's what I think.
Right. One of the things that we wanted to do, and we've talked about it over the years, is to actually set our bug leadership team, our bug group, set up a dashboard for our bug group so that we could easily access our files, because we have it all in Google Drive, which I don't know, to me, Google Drive is like a black hole. I don't know if you use Google Drive, but it's like, oh my gosh. I mean, you put something in there and it's like, where is it? But we've talked about setting up, a Bluebeam dashboard for our group, so that our leadership team could easily hyperlink out to some of these things and not have to look for them. So if any of you that are leaders here want to do a fun project, that's something that you could consider doing for sure.
Yeah, because I mean, what I did here was I just ended up taking snapshots with my snipping tool and putting it on the dashboard, and then if I wanted to create a hyperlink for this graphic here, which I copy pasted from the AECOM website. It's just a matter of like highlighting it, creating a hyperlink for aecom.com, and then boom, it's ready, it's there, so it's super easy. You can even take a graphic from the internet and create dashboards just with that graphic, just create these blocks of hyperlinks. Yep.
This is also something we could do with our meeting flyers, Christy. We could hyperlink the Zoom link and send it out as a PDF. People open it maybe and click on the Zoom link and it hyperlinks it to the meeting.
Yeah. The thing is though, is people that are not aware of it, they might not even know that the link's there,
Yeah, that's true.
But
yeah, exactly. That's a good point though. Like you can take that graphic, that flyer, and create your hyperlinks there. But yeah, that's what I had in mind when I mentioned that you can take any flyer or graphic and create hyperlinks from there.
Yeah, one thing that would be really great too is even on your the stadium job is and you might see this, you might be doing this already, is say you have plans, and you could actually, if you're taking progress photos out in the field, you could actually hyperlink it out to, your site visit photos, you know,
Correct.
to
Yep.
keep track of them, or your schedule, or, you know, anything really.
Sure. Yep. Anything where you have things stored in folders, you can hyperlink to, and you can create that dashboard, or just, you know, simple buttons to create that link to that folder.
So any questions? Look, I see one person's chatted in here. Let's see. Oh, Manny put a link here. Okay, any questions, you guys? You know, it can be about AECOM or Disney or Bernard's. One question I have is, what led you to make the switch from Bernard's to AECOM? Or can you say? I don't know. Was it the stadium?
No, it was more of a you know, personal decision, obviously, just for making some decision as far as I wanted to take my family out of state and perhaps move somewhere else, and AECOM provided that opportunity to, if I wanted to, you know, let's say take my family to Arizona, or, you know, another state, they had more opportunities to work from different states than.
Well, and with AECOM too, you could actually work out of the country if you want to work. I was gonna say, with that company, you could be going who knows where.
Yeah. It's definitely has given me the opportunity in the future, should I decide to relocate.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Bernard's is a great company, great culture. Like I said, the training program they had there, the internship program. I think Lisa Soriano.
Oh, Liza, yeah.
I think she's a Bernard's intern, I believe.
Yes.
Or was.
Yep.
So yeah, reach out to her. She can connect you to Bill Hicks. He's the talent manager at Bernard's. Really great culture. Like I said, the training program there is, you know, I'm biased to BIM, so you'll be under Darren Roos, who was, I think he's still on this call.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's great training in that department.
Yeah, I want to say early on in my career, I worked for Fluor, which is they're a competitor of AECOM, and you know, those kinds of companies. And I think it's worth it to talk a little bit about working for those kinds of companies, because our program really doesn't go to that level, you know, or you know, recruit or have recruiters come in from AECOM. And one thing, you know, whether you're going like a technology route, that's an option. Whether you're going project controls like I've gone, that's an option. There's life outside of general contracting, and sometimes the CSUs don't tell you that. And these big companies that are what I would consider more of like a program manager, Fluor would be, AECOM would be, they're global construction companies, you know, and they do a variety of different things. And those of you that are international students, I know we've got, I saw Ninad come in here from our master's program, and we've got a lot of students coming in from India and Saudi Arabia and all these other companies. And one thing that our program is very kind of location specific, where if you get out and look at companies like AECOM or Fluor or Jacobs or any of those other big companies, like RJ said, they'll pretty much send you wherever you want to go, whether you want to sometimes or not. But there's a lot more options to work outside of the US in these big program management companies than, you know, the US based companies.
What I can tell you with this market now, when you hear the name like Google and Facebook or Meta, a lot of these companies are also hiring construction and design team in-house. So you might not necessarily find a job out in the general contractor or construction management, but if you start looking into the owners of these big startups, or not even startup, maybe the Google, they have their own in-house group of construction managers and engineers, or you think of the Teslas of the world, or all these companies that are actually where you guys are at, and or at least close to Fresno. These companies are in demand of leaders to be part of their construction in-house construction team. They do sub out those work, or they end up taking general contractors, but I think that's just because they're not fighting that talent. A lot of folks go straight to sort of the general contracting construction management firm when there are opportunities to on the owner side, which
Mhm.
I've seen that throughout maybe the last 6 months, where you hear of certain technologies, like Intel announced new projects coming in, uh, um, but you're thinking, so who's going to do their construction work? So that's when you start kind of digging in and finding out, do they have a construction team in house, or who do they sub out? Because you could kind of find that during your research. And I think if you're really searching for a position, don't rule out being on the owner side.
And oftentimes on the owner side, they make a little bit more money than on the general contractor side too.
And they do tend to make the decisions, which in
Mhm.
your case, you're driving the decisions rather than getting the directions from the owner, right? You are the decision maker. So for young people that are starting with their career, that's great exposure to what project management is like, right? Because you are driving these decisions or implementing these decisions on a higher level rather than the GC that are, like I said, that are accepting directions.
Well, and I would say too, I don't know what your experience is, RJ, but I worked on both sides, and I find that on the owner side, whether it's the program management or construction management, they have more resources, I would say, than the GC side. I think because that's where the money's at. I don't know if that, I just think that depending, these big companies like AECOM are going to have a lot more ability to buy certain programs than some of the GCs will. And so their project control systems are going to be more advanced than the GC realm. That's not the case. I'm making a generalization. It's not the case with everybody. Like if you're working for a Turner, they're going to be pretty, up to speed, or some of these other big companies. But, you get into the medium or small companies, they're not going to be able to afford to buy BIM, or afford to buy Oracle P6 or some of these big programs.
Yeah, I think that the industry right now, it's not very friendly to medium-sized firms, which is unfortunate because I think there's a lot of innovation that can be spread all around, but it's being sort of they're targeting the big companies for these licenses, which is like I said, it's unfortunate, but that's sort of what's happening. It seems like is they're driving up their pricing structure to a point where they're leaving out the medium-sized companies.
You're mentioning different companies, and I'm racking my brain, and I don't think it's Starlink, but whoever's doing the Hyperloop. Do you know who that is? Have you heard
You mean
of
the
it?
GC?
The rocket, they're building they're sending out all those rockets to
the SpaceX?
SpaceX. Yes,
Yeah.
SpaceX actually. So if any of you guys are interested in this, you might do a little research on this. But SpaceX, I think, they're doing Hyperloop maybe in Europe or whatever, but they're actually building a lot of stuff, I think, down in LA. They have their own little like secret stuff that they do.
Area 51.
Yeah. They've got a lot of different things. And see, our program often just talks about the GCs, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's like a whole another world outside of.
There is, and I think that's the beauty of technology. Like on the owner side, owners are becoming more sophisticated. They are understanding what construction technology is, and they are incorporating it more in-house now than ever, I think. And that's just because the availability of that technology. A lot of the construction technology I've seen are actually coming from the Silicon Valley, right? A lot of startups. So yeah, so you know, the SpaceX or the Teslas or the Rivian, if you've heard of that company, these are, you know, innovators in their own market, in their own industry, but they also require, you know, someone to design their facilities, right, and to construct their facilities. So they, those are things that you want to keep your attention as far as, like, you know, what the trend is of construction and design in the future.
So any questions, you guys? Matt, Tomas, I see Jared here.
I have a question. Those plans on Bluebeam, are they 3D? Because they look kind of 3D.
Yeah, so they actually
Nice.
from these are from Revit. So what our contractor did was he created a flat PDF file. But yeah, these are
Oh.
3D files on this project.
Cool, that's impressive.
So you can actually see the 3D ducts here, and then you'll see the framing. So we're just coordinating what we're, you know, certain clashes like this. This is part of the BIM clash coordination, is we identify where things are not constructible. Like in this case, there was one here where the header, the duct was going into a king stud, which, you know, obviously you can't, they had to get out of the king stud for the doorway to be installed. Those are the thing as a BIM coordinator, that's what we do, is we run all these system tests to clash against other systems and see what's clashing, right? And see if that can be resolved before they build it out on site.
Right. Also, you mentioned that you guys use some sort of technology where you guys can see the things before they're actually built. What kind of what's the name of the I've seen like they're kind of
HoloLens.
Yeah.
HoloLens.
Yeah, those
HoloLens.
things.
Yeah. I mean, I can put it up here and, you know, do a quick.
I was like, I don't know if I've heard of that, so I'm glad you're showing us.
It's by Microsoft. Where I know what you see here is sort of just visual, but the goal is that you're able to see something that's not real, but then you can overlay it into what you're seeing out there on the world. This particular Trimble equipment is what we have on site. Oh, we just passed it. I can't pause it. I was looking for the pause. But once it goes back to the construction module, the Trimble, this one is what we have on site. And what that does is we're actually trying to set that up now, is we can put the 3D model of that building out on the physical big hole that we see out on site right now, and overlay it with our actual reality. And you can walk and see the construction model overlaid into reality.
That's
RJ,
amazing.
I know it is. It really is.
When I was doing my research,
I have it with me right here.
When I was doing my research on universities, I saw a YouTube video of Fresno State, and they say they had this, and I haven't seen it yet. I don't know what class or when am I gonna get to see this.
It's probably Professor Wu.
Yeah, it was Dr. Wu.
Jaime,
Yeah.
do you wanna use one?
Oh, he's got it. Hey, Jaime.
I'm actually doing my research on HoloLens.
Do you have some?
Yeah, if you are available this Friday, then we can do it.
That would be amazing. Because I went to a presentation, a company presentation, and they were talking about how they use this to stand on the site and actually visualize what's on the plans and the renderings.
Yep. Yeah, it's basically an overlay of the construction model onto the actual to the real world, right? And so I don't know, Ninad, if that you're using a different software to overlay the model.
Yeah, so basically what we're doing is there is a virtual playhouse in the virtual world, and when the students put HoloLens, they can see it and they can interact with the stuff.
Cool.
Like they can remove some panels and add some things. So basically like that.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's exciting, Nanad. When are you
Yeah.
meeting on Friday that you can tell Jaime to show up?
Yeah. So for this Friday, this research takes about 1 hour per student. So I have 11 to 12 is a free slot. Will you be available then?
Yeah.
11 to 12 on Friday.
And where
Okay.
does he meet you, Nanad?
Yeah, it's in IT 160. Do you know where it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's
On
just one
Friday-
person that can show up.
So I'm it's like I have done this about I had 12 students who are done and more are to come. So we have to collect data on 30 students in total.
So Jared, do you want to meet him too?
Absolutely, if I could.
We're-
So this go ahead. I'm sorry. I got super excited when I saw this graphic. So this is actually what a good idea of what we're going to be using it on site for is we have the actual building built out on the background there. I know it's sort of faded in, but when we put on the HoloLens, what you'll see are the MEP systems overlaid onto the actual building, so you can see how it's installed, the elevations, like what Nina was saying, you can even measure finished floor elevations. You can click on the you can click with your hand and then it'll select the duct and it'll tell you all the information on that BIM model, right? That's the information on BIM that we value so much out in construction. So yeah. It's weird because when you see, we were kind of testing this a couple of weeks ago. My first try at it is, you would see me with the hard hat on and you'd see me doing this kind of like what, Tony Stark is doing on the movies when he's moving stuff with his fingers.
It really is like that.
Yep.
The feel is very different.
RJ, we just had Trimble Days come. So Trimble just came with their robot and
oh wow.
I think we're supposed to be partnering with them. So we may have some cutting edge things. And I know Dr. Wu especially is really into this kind of stuff. So sometime we'll have to maybe, I don't know, connect you two, Have you ever met Dr. Wu? Probably
I have
not,
not.
huh? Yeah. So maybe at some point, I can, next time you come, I can make sure to invite him. Remind me. Yeah.
Sure.
Well, this was very interesting. I am so glad that you came, RJ, because your presentation was very different than everybody else's, and we learned some new technology things that we didn't know, and some of the cutting edge stuff that's out there. I think that's really exciting for the students. So we really appreciate you coming and talking with us, and we hope that you'll come back again and share more.
Absolutely. Hopefully by then I can share a little bit more about the Intuit Dome project and the technologies that we're using then. But I do appreciate Christy and I know Sophie's not here, but you remembering and inviting me back. It's always fun to talk to students and sharing a little bit of the technology that we're using out there in the real world, I guess.
Yeah.
Eventually it's going to be the metaverse, right?
The metaverse.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's just exciting. I think, oh my gosh, things are just they change so fast, So I know I've seen it just in my career, and it's like, man, I would say in the next 5 years, I think we're going to see leaps and bounds of changes in our industry, especially. Okay, any other questions before RJ takes off and we call it a night? Hopefully, RJ, we can get you back maybe in the fall of next year, after you've had some summer experience with working on that project. So
absolutely. It'll be my pleasure.
We'll definitely send you out an invite and see if you can work it into your schedule. Ninad said, if anyone wants to participate in my HoloLens research, please contact me. His email is there.
I want to contact you too. Yeah, that's exciting. Yeah. So hopefully, I don't know if reach out to me on LinkedIn. I guess I could create a link here on LinkedIn and yeah, reach out and keep in
Yeah,
touch.
sure.
Yeah, that'll be great to see what your research, what
Mhm.
it's funny because a lot of the project team members on this project are sort of in the younger generation, so they're really in touch with technology, and they're all about technology. So for me, it almost saves me the job of preaching it to the choir, because the graduates that are coming to these projects are technologically savvy already, and we're learning. I'm learning a lot from them actually. So.
Oh, that's exciting. And RJ, I'm just curious. I know you're on LinkedIn. Do you care if the students link up with you on LinkedIn?
I don't care. Yeah, I welcome it. So I appreciate it. I know a few have already been added to my network. So yeah, I have no issues with that.
Yeah, because I think especially a big company like this, it's important to kind of see what AECOM is doing and what he's doing. You might hear some more things about this Intuit Stadium too. So you might consider it, and then he can send him an invite, and then he can accept
Absolutely.
it.
Absolutely.
Especially Nanad. I was going to say, RJ and Nanad might want to be in touch with one another about the HoloLens.
Yes, sure.
Okay, you guys. Well, I think we wrapped up a great semester. I think we've had some just awesome speakers. And like I said, I'm really glad you closed us out here, RJ.
Oh, I didn't realize I was the last one. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're the last one. We
Wow.
don't have any more. So we saved one of the best to last. So
Oh, wow.
cool.
I
Yeah.
am honored. Definitely honored. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think the students will remember you with all this new technology and want to come back and see you when you come back in the fall.
Sure.
So so yeah, Christy said thank you. Christy is actually in a different program. So I don't know what you thought, Christy, but you probably learned a lot tonight that you didn't know.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I didn't know that there was that much softwares.
Yeah, isn't that exciting?
Yeah.
She's in a totally different major. And so I give
What's your major? If you don't mind me asking.
Business management.
Okay.
Yeah, so Christy's trying to convert me over, but it's a little intimidating. So so all the softwares and stuff. I think there's like 4 different softwares.
Oh,
I mean,
got
oh, there's more.
Yeah, yeah.
40.
Oh,
Yeah.
40. Oh, okay. Because I've only seen I've been to all the meetings and I'm like, oh my God, all these softwares.
Yeah, there's, you know what though, you'd be surprised, Christy. There is room for so many people, even with business management degrees in construction.
Yep.
So many people don't realize just how big our industry is and what you can do in our industry, so I'll be talking to you more.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, thanks you guys. And thank you, RJ. And we'll be in touch very soon here to loop back with you for sure, the bug leaders and I. So we thank you very much. And thank you guys for coming tonight and being so interactive with RJ.
Yeah, you guys been a great audience, and I appreciate the feedback. And yeah, let's keep in touch. Reach out to me. Yeah, any questions, feel free to email me. I'll drop my email here at the chat box. So feel free to, before we close, it's rj.palis@aecom.com. And then you can search for my name on LinkedIn as well.
And if you email him, you might say that you saw him at he's the celebrity at the bug meeting,
I'll try to remember the names here.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Well, thank you very much, RJ. And you guys, thanks so much for coming tonight. We really appreciate you coming. We hope you learned a lot and found out some really new technology things tonight.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, you guys have a great night, and RJ,
good luck with finals. I heard finals week. Yep.
Hey, Christy.
Yes.
Can I speak with you after?
Sure.
Also, Manny, can you stay too?
Sure, no problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll let everybody kind of take off here, and we'll say goodbye to RJ. And definitely, RJ, we'll be back in touch with you. We'll probably send you an email. So
All
just
right.
to follow up and everything, but we thank you really so much. It was great.
It's my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm going to turn off the recording here so we can just wrap things up here.